Gemara. Today's daf is daf Vav. The last thing we are learning about is the kusim. That the kusim, they came along and they banned the kusim. There were two stages. A mayor came along and he banned it, that their wine is forbidden, and regardless of if they drink it themselves or not, it's just a blanket ban. And Gamliel Bezdin, they banned their shchita. We had a machlekes of training whether this Rabbi Gamliel is prior to Rabbi Meir or this Rabbi Gamliel is post Rabbi Meir. Ashland is post Rabbi Meir. And why does all this happen is actually only Rabbi Meir because few those who lived near Har Gerizim, went to Har Gerizim and they worshipped this dove that was on top of the mountain. It's only a meat, but a Meir is Chai Shel Muta, so therefore we banned the entire sect of Kusim. And Tosha says fascinating that I think I told you yesterday. Tosha says that this avodah zora that they had in Har Gerizim was actually the avodah zora that Yaakov took away from Lavan and hid it under the tree by Shechem, which is right next to Har Gerizim. That is the avodah zora. Because it brings from a medrash.
I just recently saw a little
flower
clip about a group of Samaritans who live in Israel. They believe they're the only real guardians of the Torah. And they make aliyah saregel kaviyachol to Har Gerizim.
Oh, so they're the descendants of the Kusim.
Part of their avodah is to go up to the mountain.
Wow. Okay, so we are up to here 4 lines in the top. This all was generated by the Sava. And Tesha said before that the Sava might have been Eliyahu Hanavi, who told the Talmud Meir who passed it on. So let's go to the Gemara. We're up to here 3 lines into the wide lines. Rabavu once sent him to bring wine from the house of Kasayim. Ashkahu Sava, he met this Sava, which is Eliyahu Hanavi again, and Amalei said to him, "Less can Shem Taita. The guardians of Taita are not here." He went and told Rabavu. He went to the Bamir and told them. Now we had before that Amir Abasi did eat from the shchita of Kusim. That story might have happened earlier. So
before the ban,
before this new story right here, before this Sava Eliyahu making his appearance everywhere. So we're 5 lines into the wide lines, and we're continuing discussing the kusain that were placed on they interdicted all their shchitas and all their wine. And now we have another story, but this student was going to get wine for his teacher, and the Sava, which Eliyahu Navi told him that the Netzrayim retired, he went and told his Rebbe, who told Rabbi Ahmed Abasi. So they decided they didn't move from there. Actually, also they decided to treat them like goyim completely. Now, Lamai. For what? Ili shchita, that they're considered like goyim, that shchita, you cannot eat their shchita, even if they eat it themselves. That was a test we had before, or you throw them a goblet. There's a blanket ban, or that their wine is like yain esech. Mahasam gazer b'hurabanan. Inu gazer. Sorry, mahasam gazer b'hurabanan. We said before. Ameya did it, and Gamliel. These are all Tanoim. Or even Gamliel, according to Rashi, was the first generation of Amarayim. Rabbi's son. So Gemara says, you're right. Inu gazel lakibanai. When Amei made this gzei, the people didn't accept it. So Rashi said didn't accept it is because there were a lot of Kosoim living amongst the Eden. It was very difficult to go and place this mechitza between you and them and Kosoim. But Rabbi Rashi goes lakibanai. But Rabbi Rashi, there were less Kosoim, or they lived in a very different neighborhood, so therefore it was easier. Or maybe you can say that. Or the other way around. You can say that the whole basis for Ameya was because a few Kusayim went to him and Chashin Mut, and people found it, because a few always have heard we're going to ban all the Kusayim. I know these Kusayim, they're all good people. But maybe it became much more proliferate later on, and many more Kusayim joined in, and therefore became a blanket ban. So when you said you're complete Goyim, what do you mean by complete Goyim? In what way?
Being a little bit pregnant. On the list.
Yeah, so what do you mean? Yeah, complete Goyim. We already said you can't eat the shchita, you can't eat the wine. What do you mean complete goyim? So now there's a din by Erev on Shabbos, that the whole idea of an Erev, we have a few people together, is that we all join forces. Erev means mixing. We all become one property. So therefore, it's not a problem. How do you become one property? That everyone donates a little bit and put food aside, and we're all part of that. So as if we all live in the same kitchen, and then we're all one unit. When it comes to goyim, when it comes to Yid, what happens? They forgot before Shabbos to join in or something. They can be mevatel their reshus. They can say, you know what, I disown my reshus. I don't mamish disown. You can't just take anything away from me. But as far as Shabbos is concerned, disowned, you can all use my property, and I no longer have the rights. So therefore, it's mevatel is reshus, or he gives the reshus away. When it comes to go, you actually have to rent the property from a goy, and we made it much more difficult. You have to make a kinyan, and why is that? Because when we learned already, the Chacham wants to discourage people living in the same neighborhood as goyim. In those days, there was a lot of anti-Semitism, as opposed to today. And those days, you're not allowed to go to a barber or goy because we were scared. Pasha, they're going to harm you, or worse. So therefore, we wanted to sit down. And people want to live in a place of Shabbos where they can have a native. So therefore, we, especially in a small little, a few houses together. So they said, with a goy, it's problematic. You have to convince him to sell it to you or to rent it to you. It's not easy. So when we say that kusim ala goyim, we mean regarding Edivin. They cannot just be vatal their rishus. They actually have to, and we don't care that they keep Shabbos. And I remember kusim they kept certain mitzvahs. They have to. You have to sell their rishus. So and why is that? Because we don't want you to live with them because they're a bad influence. Well, we're trying to learn Yisrael Mumeh Mishamer Shabbat. Interesting. A Yisrael Mumeh that keeps Shabbos in public, even though at home he's a Mechal Shabbos, is Mevatel Rishus v'Neishus. You treat him like a Yid, Mevatel Rishus. Aber she'eina Mishamer Shabbat b'Shuk, but if it does not keep Shabbos in public, in other words, is Mechal Shabbos v'Hesed, that ain't Mevatel Rishus. We don't treat him like a Yid anymore. He's like a goy. We say Yisrael. Noisin rishus umevatel rishus. We say that a Yisrael, just walks away. You actually have to make a kinyan. You have to rent it. That you have to say all these things, and you don't have to you don't have to make a close, you don't have to make a kinyan and so on. But the idea is, you don't need a kinyan chalipin or anything else. So that's when we say we complete goyim. Interesting, a Shimpahei, the Mishnah Berurah brings in the Bir Halach, if I remember correctly, is that today maybe we don't have this kind of Chilul Shabbos because they're like Tinuk Shenishba. So it's not the Binyan Tzim is the one who comes out, comes out this whole idea that today even a Mechal Shabbos for Hesh is not really a Mechal Shabbos. They just don't know any better. And the Mishnah Berurah brings down. Don't think he brings in his name, but I think he says himself. Anyways, I'm going to yeah.
Is that across the board, anyone?
Sorry?
Is that across the board, anyone, or just someone who's not familiar?
No, we treat them all. Even if a guy is OTD, he's partially he didn't get a good enough chinuch.
Lacking in
Not spite, not that they know. An applicator is somebody who knows, and he doesn't. Otherwise, an amorit.
They would know the glory and the taiva of the mitzvah.
Exactly. Exactly. They once came to a hotel in the city of Yoy. Isaac and they brought before them beyim hametzumokas beyain. They brought before them eggs that had mixed into it some wine. Now, wine, wine is a problem when you buy from Amaretz. The mai. Most Amaratzim give ma'aser, but some Amaratzim don't. So the din is when you buy these kind of things from an Amaretz, you have to give ma'aser as well. But here it was mixed in. It was a mixture. And Abzei refused to eat it because there was a mixture of wine in there, but Abasi did eat it. There's mai in there. I didn't think about it. I didn't realize it. So what happened?
That's an oops.
No. If she goes through the mai, if it was taka osir, the mai in Taruvis, there's no way that a tzaddik would be nichshol, stumble and eat from it. Like we had yesterday, that the Eibusha does not bring a nichshol to a tzaddik. Madach behemten, which we'll see tomorrow. And it happened that Abasi ate. He says, no way. Hashta behemten shel tzaddikim. We already had this the second time here in this Gemara. Mother the behem of a tzaddik Pinchas ben Yair, which we'll see tomorrow. Ain't not good that they don't end up doing a mistake. Tzaddikim asla koshken, surely. Now, Taisa already said here and Gittin, that Taisa says that this idea that it's not in everything, because we do find that we had more Arab Psachim that he ate by mistake before Avdallah. Tzaddik did make mistakes. Ben Zayma killed an Eidech by not Ben Zayma, Ben Taima killed an Eidech there by Aiden Zayman and made a mistake. So Taisa said, I'm paraphrasing here, there's a difference in Isa Gavra and Isa Chefza. With the chayfetz itself is usher, like the food itself is usher, the Eibusha will not be machshel tzaddik. But with it's on the person, and there could be nichshel. And then Taisa says, and this is where it goes further, eating before Avdallah is not an Isa chefza, is an Isa on the Zman. And every Isa on the Zman is an Isa Gabra. Based on this whole word, you have the Mishnah Melech there in the beginning of Chometz Matzah, and of course of Chaim Brisker and everything else, with these differences. No, but Rabbi Zayda went out to find out what's tak the halacha. And he found that there's nothing wrong with the Mai in a Taruvis. So he wasn't Nichshel. He thought, Abzair was the one who thought that there's a Mai, what's chilik if it's on its own or if it's mixed in. He's like this. Now we look in the Mishnah, like if somebody buys wine for Namaret, and then what do you call it? And then lost you put into a fish brine, oil so to put in some other kind of a mixture with wine and oil and water. Or kashinin, he bought over the little seeds last meant to grind it down, or adoshim, and he's buying this from Amoritz, or again, and this chinin you mix in some spices there. Right, you buy some spices, or adoshim, lentils, lasem, hen, and some other kind of a mixture. In all these cases, chay mishum mai. In all these cases, chay because it's chay mai. The ain't or mishum vada. Surely, if it's not even a question, if you had to give these all chay meiser. But if you bought the end product, it was already a mixture. Mutarin. So if you bought the spices on its own, you bought the things on its own, which already had a chiv of mai, and then you put it into a mixture, that doesn't take away that chiv. But if you bought it from Namadas, it's already inside a mixture, so it's not noticeable at all. If it's not noticeable, there's no chiv of the mai here at all. Remember, and it's not nikar at all. So the Chacham did not make an issue over there. So in other words, he wasn't nichshel whatsoever at all. Rabasi wasn't nichshel. So the Gemara, are you telling me? Well, it goes out to his mind. You tell me I'm not over here. What that if it's a taruvis and there's the mai in there, there's no problem. But Tanya, we learned if you gave your neighbor your dough to bake or kadei, the Lavashi gave him some food that has to be cooked. He gave him to cook it. You're not worried to the yeast or tablish by the spices. There's no concern here about Shemitah, and there's no concern here about Meiser.
No concern to who?
To you when you're buying it, because surely they followed the law. You gave it to your neighbor, Amoritz, to prepare for you.
Maybe they mix their own thing in there.
Yeah, maybe put in their own thing, which have a problem with Shemitah. We're not worried. Why? Because they wouldn't take it out your thing and put their thing in its place. You gave them everything to cook with, right? You gave them everything, the dough to make. We're not worried that they're going to replace your dough with their dough, which has a problem with Shemitah. Not worried about it. However, the imama, but if you told them, "Asei li put in your own yeast, put in your own spices." We are worried. We are worried. Now, but too much spices. You just said that when you get the end product and it's all mixed in, there's no problem of the mai and all the chshoshes. And here we are worried. What about meiser? The mai. Says the Gemara, two answers. One answer is shiny hosam. This is different. Even the ka'amala, since you told your neighbor, asili mishulchi, you told her go ahead and do it, is commander as if you yourself did it. Because since she's putting the spice, as if you are putting the spice in, and if you're putting the spice in, then remember it's be'en. You're taking. We said before that if you take it before the mixture and you then there is a problem with the mai, even though afterwards you put in a mixture. Over here also says if you're taking the spice and you're putting it in, therefore you are chayiv in the mai. That's answer number one. Or Rafram says. So two exceptions. Just like in the laws of kashrus, we say that it's bottle b'shishin, but if it's, let's say, a dover, a maimid or something, or a spice, I feel about a bottle, because it's not bottle. All the bottle is it gets lost. Here it doesn't get lost. All idea is the spices is you only put a minimum amount, and it gives you flavor. So shine so the time of it. The whole purpose is to give you flavor. The time of the bottle and flavor doesn't get bottled. That's why that's an exception. It's still chayv. Says the Gemara. So what you tell me, the chalufa chashin, and now we're going a little digression here. You tell me we're not worried that if you gave her all the ingredients, we're not worried that she substituted some of the ingredients and put her own in its place, right? We're not worried at all. But now we learned if somebody gives their mother-in-law if somebody gives their mother-in-law, let's say, dough to bake, before you give it to her, you have to give meiser, because you know why? Because maybe she's going to substitute her thing for yours, and then she'll be eating what you gave her. And if you didn't give meiser, you were machshela, you caused her to do an avera, and vice versa. Where you take back from her, we're worried that maybe she didn't give meiser. So clearly, what do we see from here? That we are worried that people are going to make substitutes. And a minute ago, this has nothing to do with our sugi before, but we just digressing here based on what you just said in the Braisa. So he says, So Gemara says, imagine we're worried about chlefes. Hamiskalkul, that she will, let's say, take away the bad and putting good in its place and so on. So we see that we are worried that we make swap. Says the Gemara, talk about a mother-in-law. Do you know what kind of relationship a mother-in-law has with a son-in-law?
No communication. They could do that.
Either that. Now the question is she's taking the bad away and putting the good, or taking the good away and putting the bad. So it depends what kind of relationship you have with your mother-in-law. The point is, Hasam Kidatanya time, but there we have a valid reason. She wants to make a good impression on the son-in-law, and therefore, if she sees that he gave her inferior dough, she'll take it out and put her own dough, which is much better quality. She wants to make her son-in-law proud of her daughter's mother and have a better relationship with her daughter. So that's separate. We're not talking about a stam. You go to your neighbor, we're not worried they're going to make substitutes.
The mother-in-law is one of the 5 women who can't give aidance that the husband died or something.
Yeah, but such a mother-in-law, you wouldn't give dough to ask her to bake for you, would you? You might put poison in there. Who knows what you put in there? Right, what's a famous story, the Yiddish story there? That there's two Bachrim they both got engaged to this to these different girls in the city, in let's say whatever, some city in Poland, and they had no idea who it was, and they both went on the same train, and they got to the train station, but it turned out to be only one mother-in-law was there, the other one didn't show up. So now each one is saying that this is my mother-in-law, this is my mother-in-law. So they went to a court, and the Bedins that we don't know what to do. We're going to have to cut up this bacher half, like Shlomo Melech, and give to each girl half. So one mother-in-law said, no, you can't do that. How can you cut him up? The other mother said, yeah, cut him up. And that's the mother-in-law. Yeah, anyway, old Jewish story.
Rabbi joke number 430.
Well, I'm on a chashin. So are you telling me, Jenny, we're not worried about swapping? But what time we learned in the Mishnah, you were staying at a hotel, and she was taking care of you, and like all these bachim, sat tag over there, and whatever, they used to sit in this hotel, and you gave her dough or food to cook for you. Is same thing. You give Maisa before you give it because she might swap it, and whatever she gives you, you have to maybe she swap. We're worried that she's gonna. Says the Gemara, Hasam Nami Moiraya there. Now I'm going to tell you how Rashi Pshat is in places, two opposites. Rashi learns, Hasam Nami Moiraya, she convinced of course you're not allowed to steal, but Vama, she says, Bar Beirav Lecha Chamim Avanecha Kirin. It makes more sense. He sits and learns all day. Torah. I want to give him fresh food, and I'll take for myself the inferior food. So if she sees that the food that he gave him was not that good, she'll swap and give him better because she wants to have a bacha to sit and learn and have it. Patience at Puvaket. Mariah Hateda usually means that she's doing the wrong thing. She convinces herself, I'm the one who's working here in the kitchen and preparing food. He should get the fresh stuff and I should get the bad stuff. Fakert. So she swapped it because she wants to get the better stuff herself. So again, sorry? Yeah, your question mark. Says the Gemara weiter, are you telling me when I worried about swapping? What time we learned? Generally, again, we'll just learn Rashi way. That generally we say that the Eishes Chava should not be helping out because it'll be generating tumor and all that. But she's allowed to help out. Eishes Chava is allowed to help Techenes to grind. Im Eishes Amar, the wife of Amar, is Bizman Shehit Mei, when the Eishes Chava is Tamei. Why? Because what are you worried about? She might forget and put something in the food, which is no ma'aser. While you're working, preparing the food, you might eat something. But since she's Tamei, she's going to make sure that she doesn't. She's so used to not touching food when she is Tamei, she's just using the machine, the mill. So she's not going to touch the food. So then even I worry that she's by mistake going to eat something there. So Angel Misran Shehi Tmei Shetame. I believe Misran she turned, not when she is tired. Why? Because when she's tired, then she will touch the food. She's not worried, right? She's tired. And then we are worried that she might forget and eat a piece of the food. Now, Shimon says, even then she shouldn't. The friend, wants to be nice. And she might offer, you might not touch it on your own, but she might offer you a piece of food. And she'll give you to eat. Now, whose food? This is how Rashi learns Pshat, and Taisa finds it very difficult. Rashi learns whose food is it. At the end of the day, the husband owns all the food in the house because he's the one who works. So if she is going to, and what are you worried about? She's going to offer it to the Eishes Chava. She's a ganef. She's a ganef. How can she take food that her husband owns and allows her to eat it? And the controlling husband, and she's giving it's a ganef. So hash the misa goes, and now that she steals chalufa b'bayah, you're worried about that she's going to swap. Swapping is less than stealing, but at least she's coming back. Here she's mama stealing from her husband. Taser finds it very difficult to understand that this is not called stealing because she has every right to I'm not talking about by tzedakah. You can go to a woman in small amounts, as we're learning about it, but not big amounts. Small amounts, she has every right. Amar Bejoy says, Hasanami Morai Bama. She says, Toira Medisha Kachel, just like a cow. You're not allowed to muzzle a cow while they're working. You're not allowed to muzzle a woman while she's working in the kitchen. So she convinces herself that that it's her food, and she can and especially this Asian chaver is helping her out. She also has a right to eat. So again, there's no feeling of gzeil here. That ends this sugi over here. Something about hey, Rabbi Shua ben Zaydus ben Chomsha Meir. I had a first cousin. His name was Rabbi Shua ben Zaydus. Sorry, it's his brother-in-law. His brother-in-law. Why don't you say Gisei? Anyway, Lifnei Rebbe, he once gave Rebbe Eides, and more later said this Rebbe Shua was a big tzaddik. He once ate a leaf of a vegetable, Beishon, in Beishon. Beishon is in Yisrael, but he ate there a leaf of vegetable without giving any meiser, which means that it's not part of Yisrael. And since we just said that Kosh Baruch Hu ain't maybe takola al Yodon, if Rameh ate it, can't say, oh, he didn't realize, he forgot to have it in. Must be because it's not part of Yisrael. And the reason is when it comes to Maisa Dogan, which Mahatoida in Yisrael, you have to give Maisa some chutzlor. It's in the Rabban you still have to give. So even based on Yisrael, you still have to give Maisa. But Maisa Yedek is only with the Rabban in Yisrael, and therefore does not extend beyond the boundaries of Yisrael. Must be that Beishan is chutzlor. Second one, he did every Beishan kula al yodai. That everybody decided, you know what? Beishan is no longer Yisrael. You can have Truma, you can whatever you want. Forget Truma's Maisa, everything. They all came and attacked him, his whole family. Wow, his brothers and his family. This is an insult to our Zaydis and Babbas. Why? Your parents, like not our parents. Our family. No, they treat it like Yisrael. You have to give Truma mice and everything else. So you're just coming out and giving a blanket heta. That's it. Daughters Lemikra, he dashed in the following passage. Fascinating. It says by Moshe, it says by Chizkiyo that he destroyed the copper snake after Moshe Rabbeinu and Pash Chukazeh, that whole snake that everyone was dying there. So then they hung the snake and it saved them. So they kept it with them as a simon of the nest. And then Chizkiyo noticed that they were bowing down to Avodah Zarah. They thought that it had some special charm, so he destroyed it. And these are three things the Eibishter was makabel from him. So it says there in pasuk that the chitas he destroyed nechash and the choishes like kapas negashos and Moshe. Because until that time, people were using it as a way to zara. And they even gave it a name. They called it nechoshan. They called it the nechoshan and the chushtan. So, now let's think about it. Sheba also was a king. It says he was a tzaddik. He got rid of all the way to zara. Like Bira, didn't get rid of the choshes, the nachash. But Yehoshaphat, we learned yesterday, he was a big tzaddik. Like Bira, got rid of all the way to zara. Allah also Shavit Biram. Everybody got rid of. They didn't get rid of the Nechayshis. In other words, there's nothing wrong. In fact, they decided that we should have it because it's Moshe Rabbeinu. No boss. So Hakol Chizkiah went and destroyed it. Plus, the Abish was a good thing. It was Makabel. This is a very interesting one. Makam hinichul avoisav lizgadaboy. And the way Rashi explains it, every father wants his son to have a chance to shine. And if they got rid of all the Avodah Zarah, what's Chizkiah can do already that he make him shine? So they deliberately, this is how Rashi learns it, Taisus finds he can't accept this, that they deliberately left this Avodah Zarah of the Nachash to leave something for Chizkiah to shine. It says Taisus, to want your son to shine, that's a very nice thing. But to want your son to shine, you're going to let people be Oivd Avodah Zarah for another 20, 30, 40 years? How can you do that? This is another shot. Same over here. They wanted me to come up with this chiddush of Beishan Yisrael, and everyone will talk about Rebbe. You know how great Rebbe is? He's Matzah Beishan. It was for a good reason, because the Arma Light had nowhere to eat. There was nothing to eat. So by making one neighborhood next to Yisrael, which had, I guess, plenty of agriculture there, to allow them that you don't need Trum and Maisa and no Shemitah and nothing else, the Yishmiti was beautiful. He saved Eden. So therefore, people talk about Rebbe, what a wonderful person he was. With halacha, you don't just tear it away from him. The other use the expression, you don't derogate, you don't, you make fun of him. And the other say, which is very similar. Mandam, they just use different words from a pasuk. Mandam and mazichin, the chesiv says leizach choshech, don't remove the choshech, so we don't remove the halacha from him. Which one? Well, Mandam ein maznich, the one that says ein maznich, you don't make fun of his words. The chesiv kila yiznach lemashem. Mandam and mazchich, the one that says mazchich, and mazchich means you're about gaiva, and therefore you're coming up with these laws because you want people to talk about what kind of great tamachach you are, and so on and so forth. Well, you don't listen to anybody else. Is it namilum? Rabu zechuchi haleb. We find that expression. Zechuchi haleb are those hordy. Rabu machlekes b'yisrael. They didn't listen to their rabbis. Okay, we'll stop over here. Tomorrow, Mitzvah.